So first of all, let me introduce myself again. My name is Otavio. I work for Vancouver. So we are a consulting company that is mainly responsible to help you guys finding your new home here in Canada. So we are specialized in finding a new home here in Canada. We work in more than 45 cities in Canada. So we are in the main cities like Vancouver and Metro Vancouver. We are in Toronto and all the GTA, the Grand Toronto as well. We are in Calgary, Winnipeg, Montreal, and so on, so on. So I'll share with you guys a little bit about the cost of living here. We're gonna go through the main cost of living, a little bit about the rental process that is quite a bit different from most of the countries. And then we're going to discuss a little bit of the main differences between the three main cities, so Calgary, Vancouver, and Toronto as well. So let's dive in. Let me explain a little bit more about the main living expenses in Canada. So when we're talking about the main living expenses in Canada, the three that are most important, the three that pop up in our minds is going to be rent, of course. This is going to be the first one. It's going to be the expensive one. And I'll say the most important ones, since we're talking about where you're going to live, where you're going to sleep, where you're going to eat. So it is your home. So it's very important. It is one that we have to be more careful when we're thinking about it. The second one is going to be groceries. So usually the second one in price, in expenses, is going to be your groceries. Even if you're eating out or if you're eating inside with just groceries, they're gonna be the second expense. Then you're gonna be careful about it. And the third one is gonna be utilities. So usually utilities we're going to include gas that is gonna be the responsible for heating. We're gonna include electricity. We're gonna include water, and of course cable TV. If you want a cable TV, internet, then nowadays is a must. It's impossible to live without it. All of this is gonna be inside utilities. So usually this are the three main living expenses when you're thinking about moving in, that you have to be careful. You have to think of it, and it is quite a toll on your full income as a family. So when we're talking about groceries, I don't know if you guys are able to see nowadays how is inflation in Canada and how this is a main topic of conversation within news, within groups of experts on it. So we've been seeing increase on grocery prices throughout the last 2 years. And this is one of our main concerns here in Canada right now, how to contain that inflation and how can we do and stay with the prices that are already here now and don't increase it more, so the income from most of the families will match the cost of living when you're talking about groceries. I don't like to do like a percentage on groceries, but percentage of your income on groceries, because usually this will be a lot of different between families. It's going to depend on if you eat a lot of meat. So meat is not a very cheap thing here in Canada because we don't have that much if you're talking like bovine meat. But if you're talking about poultry, and it's going to be a little more on the cheaper side. So it will depend on your family, on your eating habits, so you can choose and see what will fit you. But usually groceries is going to be between 20 to 40 or 50% of your income. Is going to depend on how you eat, of course. So it can go from 20 to almost 50, depending on how it's going to be your groceries, how it's going to be your eating habits, if you're going to eat out a lot, if you're going to do groceries a lot, if you're like a vegetarian, if you do like a lot of meat. All of this will going to impact you quite a bit on your grocery and eating income expenses. So, and if we're talking about utilities are usually not that quite expensive here in Canada. Of course, you're gonna have a lot of expenses within the winter if you live in a house, because you're gonna have to pay for your gas. But if you're talking about apartment, and usually most of our newcomers, usually they're looking for something like an apartment for the first year, so they can set it up they'll be settled here in Canada. It's a little bit easier when you're talking about apartments because you don't have to take care of a lot of things like shoveling snow if you live in somewhere that has a lot of snow, taking care of a garden if you have a garden, all those things that comes with a house. So usually if you're talking about apartments, you don't have to pay heat. So usually the heat, the gas bill is going to be included in your rent. So it's a little bit easier and a little bit cheaper on this side of utilities. And then, of course, you're going to have to take care of electricity and water, most of the cities. But that's not that expensive, mainly because the most expensive one is going to be heating. And usually most of the cities right now are moving for heating only with gas. Of course, cities like Vancouver, we still have a lot of electricity for heating because it's not that cold like Winnipeg or like Calgary. But it's something that we're seeing a lot of people moving from. Well, the other utilities like cable TV, usually nowadays most of the people don't use it anymore, but of course you can look for it. And of course internet. So internet is going to be the main one right now that it could be optional, but well, let's be real, nobody will be without it. So usually when we're talking about internet, most of the units, most of the rentals, most of the houses, they won't include internet on their rent. So it's going to be an expense that you have to be careful and you have to look for. The good thing is that we have a lot of companies that are looking for new customers and they have a main focus on newcomers. So when you're here, when you're arriving, it's good to look for each and every one of them. We have at least 4 or 5 main ones, and then they have the subsidiaries and they have a lot of promotion for newcomers. So let's say you got a very good price for the first 12 months, or you get like 3 months in your bill. So it's a good thing to look for it. Usually they won't be included on your rent, but there are a lot of options that you can go for it within, like I'd say 50 to at least from 50 to $100. It's going to be a lot of good options with a good amount of velocity. So you're going to have a good download and upload velocity for your internet. And the last one, of course, is going to be rent. So rent is going to be a tricky one. We have a lot of things that is going to be a lot of moving pieces when you're talking about rent. Right now, rent, it is a quite expensive thing here in Canada, in most of the cities, mainly in big cities like Vancouver, Toronto, Calgary. This is going to be like a quite expensive part of your income. So nowadays, rent could represent from 30 to 50% of your income. So of course, if you sum it up all of it, you could be more than 100, and that's not practical. But if you say, let's say something between 30 to 40% of rent is going to be from your income, then you have 30%, 25 to 20% of groceries, and the rest of it will cover the rest of your expenses. So yes, rent is going to be an expensive part of your income right now. And it has a lot of moving parts, but it is part of living here. What I can say, and I say this to all of my clients, is that if you compare the cost of living, the cost of rent, and the minimum wage on most of the cities, you're going to see that one family getting the minimum wage, both of them working full time, we're gonna see that rent is gonna be about 50%. So if you're doing minimum wage, if you're doing a little bit better than that, then it's gonna drop to 30, to 40, to 30, even to 25, 20%. So it's not that much when you compare it to minimum wage. So it's a little bit easier to think when we're thinking about this comparison, or not just the total of the rent per se. So let's dive in a little bit more on the rent side, because it's as I said, it's a lot of moving parts when you're talking about that. So I like to extend a little bit more on that side, so you guys try to understand a little bit more. So this is part I want to tell you about how to find and get an approval on a rental application. So we have a lot of people coming in to Canada all the time. And we have a lot of people, a lot of demand looking for rental homes. And we unfortunately don't have that many offers of units. So we have right now, we have a tipped balance between demand and offers. So we have a lot of people looking and not that many homes available in the market. And this will drive the price up, and this will drive a lot of people trying to differentiate from the other ones, for the other applications, so you can get better chances of being approved. So it is important for you guys to understand that even if you have if you have a job offer and you're gonna arrive here in Canada with an income, with a job offer, with a fixed income, you still don't have one thing that is gonna be like the main important feature for you to get an approval. You guys won't have the credit score. So the credit score here in Canada is very important to determine if you guys are eligible, if you guys are good payers of your own bills. So usually the landlords, the owners of the homes and apartments, they're gonna look for your credit score. Since you guys don't have one, this is like a big flag for them to get you an approval, because they don't know if you're gonna spend all your money and don't pay your bills on time, or you're gonna be delaying your bills. So they are a little afraid to approve you once you are here in Canada. So usually you have to do a lot of things to impress them. So do a good application and get better chances of being approved. This can be a lot of things. It can be like offers in advance on your rent. It can be showing a proof of funds. So showing that you have enough money beyond your income, your fixed income, your job offer, to prove them that you have enough to provide for you and your family here in Canada. So you have a lot of moving parts, and each city is going to be a lot of different things that can be the differentiate for yourself. So if you're talking about Toronto, you have a lot of things that you have to do. If you're talking about Vancouver, it's going to be a little bit different. If you're talking about Calgary, right now is a cheaper one, but it has a lot of people looking for it. So every city has a little bit tricky when it comes to application, but most of them, they're gonna see you guys as a little bit of risk because you still don't have a credit score, and credit score is very important on this kind of application. So of course, there are, as I said it, there are tricks, there are ways to do it. Mainly, it's going to be between showing proof of funds and showing a way to differentiate yourselves from other applications, like offering months in advance or showing your job offer and such. And this is where we came in. So we know how to do it. We can help you out, of course. Our companies, this is our expertise. So we know how to do that kind of application for a newcomer. I won't say that it is impossible to do it by yourself. It is not. We have a lot of people doing by themselves right now, but it's a lot of risk. You can get a lot of denials and can take a long time. Mainly because of the things that I told you guys. We have a lot of moving parts, and the landlords, they don't have to do any kind of stretch on deciding which one they want, because they're gonna have a lot of options, a lot of tenants wanting to move in, and probably they'll have tenants that have credit score, they have a fixed income. So there's a lot of ways to do it, a lot of ways to differentiate yourselves from the market, but you have to know how to do it for sure. Bro, so what are the main costings, what are the main costs associated with living expenses? So of course we cover a little bit of groceries, we cover a little bit of utilities, but I like to try to explain to you that we have a lot of other costs associated with the rent. So besides the rent, we have other fees that could be included in your bill on your monthly bill. So of course, we have the utilities. We already covered that one, but we have a thing that we call tenant insurance. I know that a lot of countries don't have it. Most of Latin Americans don't usually know what it is. So tenant insurance is like an insurance that you get for your home, but as a tenant, not as an owner. So this will cover if you have any accidents that could lead to some kind of expense within the home. So let's say you're using the apartment that you rented out, and you misuse your stove and something got fire. So once it caught fire and did a whole damage, not just in your unit, but like let's say the building. So you have an insurance that will cover that up. So this is a way for you to be protected and you don't have like a surprise if anything happens and you have to pay. Of course, if it is something that is not your responsibility, let's say we had a storm and the lightning caused electrical damage. Of course, it's not going to be up to you or to use your tenant insurance. The owner already has an insurance, or the building has an insurance as well. But if it's something that is going to be caused by you, we have an insurance for that. So usually, most of the units, most of the homes, they will ask you for an insurance. The insurance has a lot of premiums, so a lot of things that you can be covered in your insurance. Of course, they will ask you for something, like usually it's just property damages. This is the only important one that it is mandatory for you to have, but you can add it up and you can cover, like if you have jewelry, if you have like I don't know, maybe paintings, or you have art, or you have something that you it is of value and you want to be covered up on your insurance. Of course, you can do that. If you're saying just the mandatory part, usually they will go from 25 to almost 40, depending on the side of the home, the size of the property damage that the owner are asking you to. Usually they go from 1 million to 2 million in coverage. So usually they'll go from, I'll say $30 to $40 per month. You can pay in months, so it's a little bit easier, or you can pay yearly. Usually they have a discount for it, but you have a lot of providers that you can use for once you get your home. Besides that, we have some fees in some cities. So let's say Vancouver. Vancouver has a pet fee. So it's a fee that can be charged from you. There's going to be 50% of your monthly rent as a security deposit for pet damages. So you have that in Vancouver, you have that in Calgary, but you don't have that in Toronto. So it's going to be different from each city, but you can have like a pet fee. You can have some kind of another fee, like moving fees. Some units, some apartments will charge you a moving fee that is going to be a one charge only on your rent. You can have another damages. You can have another fees. It's going to be up to the landlord and up to the province. Of course, they have rules for it. Like in Ontario, it's forbidden to charge you a pet fee, but in British Columbia, it's not. So it's nice to know and nice to be careful about it. It's always good to search and see what are the province obligations, what are the province fees that can be charged, and what are the ones that cannot be charged. So it's good to know. It's good to take a look and see a little bit about it beforehand. Of course, again, we can help you out with that. We know how to do it, and we know the fees. But of course, it is good for you to know and search a little as well, so you don't get we don't get like a surprise if you don't know it. Well, last thing that I want to talk right now is a little bit about the difference between the three main cities. Of course, there's a lot of big differences. There are three cities and three provinces. Usually, the rules are very similar within each province. So, if we're talking about Toronto, most of the rules that I'm going to discuss you is going to be the same for like Kitchener or Ottawa. And if we're talking about the rules for Vancouver and Kelowna, is going to be the same. Victoria is going to be the same. So usually most of the rules are for province. So I'm covering three provinces, the three main cities, so you can try to understand a little bit more. So let's talk first about Toronto. So Toronto, it is the biggest city in Canada. It is the largest one. It is like the main hub for Canada right now. It has an amazing public transportation network between buses, subway and the streetcars. You have a lot of places that are covered by the public transportation network. It is a major hub for international travel. So when we're talking about us that we are newcomers and we like to think about getting back home sometimes, it is a little bit easier. Most of the international flights will come from Toronto, so it's a little bit easier on that part. And we have a lot of good options. We're expanding each time beyond just downtown area. So we have a lot of good places such as Entertainment District. We have Midtown, we have North York. There are main neighborhoods in right now in Toronto that has been developed. It has a lot of companies in it, so you don't have like to travel downtown every time. So it is a big city with a big opportunities. Right now it is not that it's gonna be in between Calgary and Vancouver on the price of cost of living. So if we're talking about rentals, the rent is gonna be between 35 to 38, 39% of your income on an average. So this is an average for your income between rent and your income, but it's good to know. Another big difference that Toronto usually charges you first and last month of your rent on your approval process. So once you got an application and you got approved, you're gonna have a charge of first and last and minimum. And since we have a higher demand than most of the market, we have seen more and more the need for doing an offer in advance when you're talking about Toronto. So usually most of the rents they're gonna expect from newcomers an offer of 6 to 12 months in advance. So 12 months is gonna be like one or two cases, is not very common, but 6 months is very common when we're talking about Toronto. So usually if you want to get an approval and you still don't have like a credit score, it's gonna be a pretty good chance that you have to do an offer of at least 6 months in advance. Okay. Usually one bedroom, they're ranging from 2,500 to 2,800 in the downtown and neighborhood areas. So if you're looking for a one bedroom, I'll say that they're going to be between 25 to 2,800 in Toronto, in the main neighborhoods, with an easy access to public transportation, with an easy access to groceries, pharmacies, all the things that you need like for your daily routines. If you're talking about Vancouver, so Vancouver right now is considered the most expensive city to live in Canada, but we have a lot of good alternatives on Metro Vancouver. So if we're talking about Vancouver, Vancouver is very, very small. So if you're talking about like downtown Vancouver is going to be smaller than Vancouver Airport. So it's a very, very small part of the city, but we have a lot of good options in Metro Vancouver. Cities like Burnaby, US, Surrey, Coquitlam, they're gonna have a lot of good options with a lot of good price as well. So of course, Vancouver, it is a big city as well, has a lot of companies, but has a lot of good nature. So if you guys are looking for something like a place that has more options, with a greenery, and you have mountains and you have beaches and you have sand and you have a little bit more heat, Vancouver is a very good place for that, as well as the weather. So the weather in Vancouver is not that extreme, not even in the summer or in the winter. So you don't have like a very snowy winter and you don't have like a very, very hot summer. You're gonna have like hot streaks, periods of time that's gonna be very hot, or periods of time that you're gonna be very cold. But in the average temperature for the city, it's a little bit better than like cities like Calgary or even Toronto. Usually they don't charge you first and last. They're gonna charge you just first and security deposit. Usually a security deposit is gonna be 50% of your rent. So it's a little bit cheaper on the start. You don't have to come up with first and last, just have to come up with first and 50% as security deposit. And it's not that very common to charge you for more rents, more months in advance when you're talking about Vancouver, mainly on apartments, mainly on buildings. Of course, if you're talking like a home that has an owner that we have to discuss about it, it's gonna be on a daily basis. We're gonna have to see if it is something that it has to come up or not, but it's not that common as it is in Toronto. And one bedroom apartment, it can vary a lot. So if we're talking about like downtown Vancouver, one bedroom apartment can go from 2,800 to almost 3,000. But if we're talking about places like Surrey, that is just 15 minutes from downtown Vancouver, within the SkyTrain, within the subway, you can find some good options between like 20,000, 2,000 to 2,200. So you have a lot of options within like just 50 minutes from downtown. And in between, they're going to vary the price in between the cities. So let's say that most is going to be 3,000 on one bedroom in Vancouver, and the lease is going to be like 2,100 for a one bedroom apartment in Surrey. So we have a lot of options that you can search for it. And if you are okay with living a little bit far, you have a good option. If you want to live a little bit closer, it's going to be costing you a little bit more. Of course, if we're talking about Surrey, if you have to go to work in downtown, it's going to be 15 minutes. But after that, everything is going to be in Surrey. So Surrey is a big city, as well as Burnaby, as well as New West. And you have all the things that you need for your daily basis within the city. So you don't have to go out for groceries. You don't have to go out for eating in a good restaurant. You don't have to go out to finding some good places like a shopping mall or something. They're going to have all of it within your city. The last one is going to be Calgary. So Calgary is going to be the one that's a little bit easier, is a little bit cheaper from all of that. It is being the go place to go right now in 2023, and I think it's going to extend from 2024. So everybody's looking for Calgary. It is an amazing city, it has a big potential, but it's been growing quickly than anticipated. So we have a lot of people coming in, not just newcomers, not just people coming from other countries, but we have a lot of migration internally. So people trying to move out from Vancouver or Toronto or Montreal and looking for Calgary as a better option. So this will drive a lot of people going in, a lot of demand, and again, not that much offer. It is compared to the demand right now. So this is a big challenge because we don't have that many options. We don't have that many offers, and we have a lot of people coming in, but it's still, it is a cheaper option. It is a good option because it is an amazing city. So the city itself, it is a medium-sized city for Canada. Most of them are still houses. So most of the apartments, the buildings, they're going to be in the central area. They're going to be on the main area. So if you're talking about the main area, it is going to be located in downtown, and we have a good amount of surrounding neighborhoods that they're going to have good options, such as Belline, Mission, West End. They're good options right now. They have a good public transportation network as well. So you're gonna have the feeling of downtown, and you're gonna have more options and brand new ones. So we have a lot of brand new buildings coming up. So this is a good thing. On the climate perspective, is gonna be a more challenging city than the other ones. So for you to get like a perspective, so there are 88 snow days in Calgary. And if you compare to Toronto is going to be 65 days of snow. So we're going to have almost a third more of snowy days in Calgary. That's not just talking about, and if we're talking about temperature, the temperature is going to be quite below as well. So usually they're going to go from a little more than 8 to 10 degrees below Toronto, and almost 15 degrees below Vancouver. So of course, climate is going to be a big challenge if you're choosing Calgary, because it is a main concern. The city is prepared for it. So once you get the hang of it, it's not that hard to do it, but it is something to keep in mind. So the snowy days and the cold is going to be a little bit more harsh when you're talking about Calgary. As well as Calgary is the same thing as Vancouver. So we're talking about what you have to pay in advance. Most of the units, they're going to charge you just first and a security deposit for 50% of your rent as well. So usually this is what they're going to charge you at first. Of course, as I told you guys previously, we've seen a quick growing in Calgary. With that, we're gonna see a lot of people searching for units. So if you're talking about right now, I'll say they're usually one rental. They're gonna have at least 25 to 30 applications coming in for that unit. So with that, we have a lot of people looking for it. So we have a lot of people trying to differentiate yourselves. So we're gonna see a lot of people right now doing months in advance as well. So this is not like a usual thing that it is like in Toronto. We have a lot of people doing it, but we're seeing this feature growing and growing in the last months, even in the last season. So summer was a little bit more harsh on that. We're gonna see how it develops, but we're seeing more and more people offering from 4 to 6 months in advance on your rent. So it's not like 6 to 12, it's a little bit better, but it's something that if you can prepare for yourselves, it is a little bit easier to get an approval right now. So one bedroom apartment in the neighborhoods that I said to you, with easy access to public transportation, good infrastructure on all over it. They're gonna range from 1,700 to 2,100. So it's a little bit cheaper. At 1,700 is going to be the older buildings, and let's say 20,000 to 2,100 is going to be the newer ones. So we have a little bit different on each city. So as I told you guys, Calgary, the income versus rent is going to be like 30%. So 30%, 25 to 30, usually up to almost 35 if you're doing minimum wage. So it's a little bit better, of course, the average, the ratio between rent and your income. But it's good to know that we have a lot of options. They have their advantages, they have their pros and cons. But it's a good thing. It's good cities with a lot of for a lot of potential to be your new home here in Canada. So I'm going to open up for questions, and of course, we can discuss a little bit more. I can come back on each slide if you needed to, and of course, we can discuss a little bit more within the cities, or if you have questions from another city, please feel free. I'm just letting my thank you first of all. This is a QR code we're extending for everybody that is here in VanHack webinar, a way to connect with us for free. So usually we charge for our first consultation. It is a 30-minute call, but we're extending for you guys a free consultation if you want to move forward and talk with us a little bit more about your profile and how our business works and how can we find you a new home. Please feel free. You can scan the QR code, and after I'll put the link on the chat as well. So thank you, guys. I think we can open for questions as well now.
Perfect, perfect. Thank you so much, Otavio. I think you shared a lot of, essential information when thinking about the places to live in and what you consider in terms of costs and so on. It was incredible. I also shared some resources we have in the chat so that people can explore other information. Thank you again for sharing all of that. So we do have some questions here so that we can dive in. I'm gonna open here now for us to get started. So can you see the questions as well from your side?
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay.
I can go from each one.
Yeah.
That's okay. So the first one is from Pedro. He's talking that he makes $8,000 US dollars, and he's planning to move to Canada with his wife and kid. And he's asking if it's a good salary. So it is a good salary. If we're talking about 8,000 US dollars, we're almost at a 10,000 Canadian. So we're talking about more than $100,000 a year. It is a good salary for sure. I think it is a good seller for good living. Of course, you have to make choices. You maybe if you're talking about Vancouver, maybe downtown Vancouver won't be the best option because it will be taking a lot of your income. But you have got a lot of good options within Metro Vancouver, within Calgary, within Toronto, and it is a good salary to live in Toronto, in Canada for sure.
Perfect. Amazing. Thank
The
you.
second one is if it includes if the apartment includes internet. So it's not very usual. Usually, if you see something like internet included, they're gonna be like if it's a brand new building, could be a promotion for the first year or something like that. And if you're talking about living in a basement, we didn't cover what is a basement within the presentation, but we do have a lot of people that rent basements. So it's the lower part of the home, the lower level of the home, usually below the main floor. And if you're talking about renting a basement, then it could be included because you're gonna share the utilities, and since the home already have internet, they're gonna be shared with you, but usually you pay a percentage of it. So if you're talking about basements, most of them are gonna charge you a percentage of the whole utility. So let's say 20% of the whole utilities, like internet and water, heat, and electricity as well. So, but if you're talking about apartments, that is not very common, usually just as a promotion. Let's see, the third one, it's gonna be about, let me see, the furniture. So no, usually if we're talking about long-term rent is gonna be 12 months, okay, is the standard lease term for Canada, for all over Canada. If you're talking about long-term rents, usually you don't have furniture included. You're gonna have the furniture from the kitchen, so let's say stove, fridge, usually dishwasher. You're gonna have the counter. You're gonna have the closets for the bedrooms, but you don't have like furniture as well as beds, sofas, TVs. So usually you will only find on short-term rents. And short-term rents, they don't have the same features. They don't follow the same rules, and usually they are a little more expensive than a long-term rent. So the next question is going to be about infrastructure on the cities. Does a family need a car? So I'll say that if you live in a downtown area, in most of the cities, you don't need a car. You can work with the public transportation. I'll say on most of the cities, if you're talking about like big cities, okay. Of course, if you're gonna live on a small city, then it's gonna be a problem. But if you're talking like Calgary, Winnipeg, Montreal, Toronto, Vancouver, and you're living in the main areas, in the main neighborhoods, you don't have to worry. You don't have to have a car. It's gonna be, if you want to, of course you can, but you don't have to have a car to go around town, even with a family. So the public transportation is very good. They're very punctual. So even in the winter, most people are a little bit afraid on the winter. Like if I have to take the bus and I have to stay outside waiting for the bus, usually the bus are very on time. So if you know that your bus is gonna arrive at 10:05, you're just gonna go to the bus stop at 10:05, and the bus is gonna be there on 10:05. So you don't have to worry that much about getting there like 20 minutes early and stayed on the code. So I'll say that you can live without a car for sure in big cities, no worries. So let me see. Next question is, can someone buy a house? Yeah, of course you can buy a house. Of course, if you're gonna take a loan, if you're gonna do a mortgage for buying your house, you're not gonna have like a good rate since you're just getting in Canada. They're gonna be a little bit more on a higher rate for your loan. But of course you can buy one. I'll say, and this is my 2 cent options. I'll say that it's a little bit better to rent first, seeing if you like the neighborhood, seeing if you like the city, choosing that afterward. But that is not like a mandatory thing. You can buy a house prior to coming in Canada for sure.
Yeah, and we have some VanHackers that already bought some houses in Canada. So when we received those pictures, we were thrilled to see that. And yeah, it's an important move indeed.
Yeah, for
Thanks,
sure.
Otavio. Yeah. Next one.
Uh, Let me
Let's
see
go.
the next one. So how much money do you recommend we have saved up before we move? So I'll say if you're talking about rent, it's better to have at least 1 year of rent in your banking accounts. I'll say that it's a good it's a good price point. I'll say that it's a little bit better to have a little bit more because of course you have other expenses. I'll say most of our clients, we say that they have to have comparing to rent, it's a little bit easier to do it because will depend on each city. So from 1 year to 1.5 years of savings, it's a good price point. It's a good start point for you to have saved up. It can be in investments, it can be in savings, it can be in a lot of things. But I think that that's a quite a good amount for you to start up. Do they charge international? Yeah. So if you're living in Canada, okay, you're gonna be charged. Your tax is gonna be here. So you're receiving income here in Canada. You're living in Canada. You have to do your taxes on each year. So of course you're gonna be charged on the next year, not the first year, not the year that you're living in. You're gonna do your taxes on the next year on the beginning of the year. So they're gonna charge you taxes for it if you're living in here.
Yes, I think that I can answer the next one is
Yeah.
from Fazal. He's asking in which states VanHack is not dealing with relocation. So Fazal, not sure, I mean, if I got it, but with the relocation program that we just launched, the VanHack Canadian Engineer Office, we are working mainly with three main provinces. So Alberta, British Columbia, and Ontario. Okay, I'm gonna share in the chat again the link for this program. But we do work with sponsored visa jobs in other provinces as well. So you can also explore some of our some of our jobs openings. Let me share the jobs link here where you can check. So those are we have these two options where you can explore the best possibilities for you. All right. Next one, let's move on. Now it's for you, Otavio.
So when we use the service of Ventures Home, do we pay some for agent fee or additional fee? Yeah. So we, as I explained a little bit, but let me divulge a little bit more. So we are a consulting company. So we are not real estate agents. We do work with you guys to finding your first home. So a real estate agent usually works for the owner of the home. And we don't work for the home. We don't take commission from the homes. We just work for you guys. So we do take a consulting fee. Is going to be depending on which of our services you choose. We have more than one, but let's say the first one is called housing. Is the start point, and then it's going to cover looking for your home, searching within your profile, helping you searching for your home, helping you with visits. We're going to do physical visits for the units that you choose. We're going to help you do an application, so we know how to do, and we're going to help you doing an application, and we're going to help you with any questions on your rent agreement, and we're going to help you once you got here with your move-in inspection and moving in any question that you have on your home. So this is the first option that we have. It's called housing, and housing is we're gonna charge you a fee of $900 plus 5% taxes. So this is the first service, and we can accommodate a lot of more. We help you out if you want with the first groceries, first furniture shopping. We can help you guys with how to get your documentation here. So how to go and get your first docs here, how to open up your account. So we have a lot of good options for us to help you out, and we charge a consulting fee for that. So it's going to be just one charge. It's not going to be a monthly thing, and we don't charge within like a ratio of your rent is going to be a fixed price for each service that we provide. So with actual cost of living, if I choose to live in Winnipeg or Calgary for salary fund, be enough for a family of three. Will I be able to have savings and all? Yeah, for sure. Of course, again, it's depending of your expenditure standard. So let's say if you're a guy that like to do a lot of shopping, or do you buy very expensive groceries, this is gonna be a lot of questions, a lot of things that can mess with your income and the how much you can save. But I'll say that with like 90K for cities like Calgary or even Winnipeg, I think you even with a family of three, I think you definitely have room for savings, and it's good enough for a good living for sure. Is it possible to rent an apartment before arriving to Canada? It is recommended. So yeah, so it's absolutely possible to do it. This is where we come in. We know how to do it. We know how to help you out. Most of our clients, they're not in Canada yet. They arrive with already a home for them. So we usually help them out. We can help you guys out searching for it, applying and helping you out with the lease, all of it before you get here. So once you got here, you can go directly to your new home here in Canada. So I'll say it is recommended. Of course, it's not mandatory, but it's recommended mainly because of two things. First of all, you can save a lot of money, because if you like, let's say you come here and you have to search for yourself, and it takes like 1 or 2 months to find something. 1 or 2 months on an Airbnb or in a hotel is going to be way expensive than your month's rent plus our consulting fee. So usually an Airbnb can cost you from 4 to 5 times your monthly rent. So it is sorry, for your consulting fee. So 4 or 5 times your consulting fee. So it is I'll say it is a recommended thing to try to find it beforehand. If you're trying to find it by yourself, be careful. There's a lot of scammers, there are a lot of things, and there's a lot of, as I've said, there's a lot of moving parts, how to do the application, why you have to show, what you have to offer. But we can help you out, of course, and we can help you out doing so you can arrive here with your home already in your hands. If I got a credit card from a Canadian bank, how much should I spend monthly to? So this is the question of, I'll say it's $1 million question. It's not that easy to know. There's a lot of factors that go within your credit score. I'm not an expert on it, so I'll say that if was what I saw it. Usually they recommend that you do expenses on your credit card monthly, but don't go above 40%. But again, I'm not a expert on the subject, so do a lot of search. There's a lot of factors that goes to building your credit score here in Canada. Do you have a recommendation to start a credit score from abroad? So I don't think it's possible. As a newcomer, I searched when I was arriving. I didn't see anything. They say that if you have like a banking account, they can help you out with that, but it's not that easy to do it. And I don't know for sure there's gonna be a big differences to build a credit score. So usually you have to be here, and usually for your credit score to have some kind of impact, there has to be like 1 year of credit score. Like 1 month of credit score, it won't be like a good impact on any application. So you have to really build, wait a little, do like at least 1 year, so you can get a lot of information within your credit score, and then it will have an impact on your rental applications. If you're getting a loan, if you're buying a car, a lot of things will help you if you have a better credit score. So recommended rate should be about 30% of income, that is before tax. So yeah, it is before taxes. I'll say 30% used to be like the standard rate for rent. Nowadays, most of the cities like Toronto or Vancouver, the big cities, We're looking for 35 to 40, more than 30. Of course, if you can do 30 is better, but 35 to 40 for their first year, it is a good ratio between income and rent. Does Canada have tax return based on what you pay yearly? So yes, I won't get into specifics because I don't know. I'm not I'm not expert on that. But yes, you have tax returns. You're gonna have part of your tax taken out on your monthly payment on your salary, and then you have tax returns on the end of the year, as most of the countries do. So you're gonna fill out your tax returns. You can have returns on the tax if you already charged it, or maybe you're gonna have to pay if you didn't, if wasn't charged within your salary. In my case, I make $3,900 and my wife plans to move to Calgary. My opinion is not enough. Plan to work out too, but I'd like to know the minimum if I can find a place to live below 1,000 the first year. So I'll say that it's not that bad. $3,900. We're talking about more than 4,000 Canadian dollars. If your wife gets a job as well, it's gonna be a complement on your income, on our family income, on our whole income. And I think it's a good salary to start in places like Calgary. I'll say that it's gonna be almost impossible to find something within $1,000 on the first year. So if we're talking about Calgary, even if we're doing like basements, that is a little bit cheaper. Usually basements will go from 15 to 1,700. So below that price point is almost impossible to find something that's going to be just your own, unless you're okay with share or share home. The price point is going to be a little bit harder to find. Let's say I earn 5K. My wife has 2 children. They're planning to move down. The number of bedrooms does she get? Okay. Oh, this is a good question because we have like a recommendation from each province. Okay, and it is a federal as well, about how many rooms do you need to have if you have more than one person living in the home. So if you're talking about a family like a couple and children, usually it is needed for 1 bedroom plus, 2 bedroom plus on the house. So it is almost mandatory that you have a second bedroom for your kids. I won't say that is impossible to get an approval without it, but it's going to be a very hard thing to do. Usually the landlords won't approve you if you want to move in a 1 bedroom apartment and you have a family of 4. So at least 2 bedrooms. We have another thing that it is like an advice, is not a mandatory thing. That this is a little bit more on the flexible side. That usually they won't allow two children of opposite sex above the 12-year-old mark to live in the same room. So this is like an advice, is just a recommendation from the government. It's not like a mandatory thing, and most of the landlords won't deny an application from that reason. But if we're talking about 1 bedroom for a family of 4, it's going to be a very hard thing to do for you to get an approval, because they're going to search, they're going to see it, and they're going to say, I think it's better for you to get at least a 2-bedroom apartment.
Perfect, Otavio. I know that our time is almost up. So if you have time to answer, I mean, a final question, and then we can wrap up. What do you think?
Yeah, let me see the questions and see
Yeah,
if there's
sure.
something. Okay.
Mhm.
Got it. Yeah. So there's nothing that we didn't cover from the previous one. I'll say that, as I told you guys through the process, it is a lot of moving parts within the rent. And the rental application, it is the main important thing when you're talking about cost of living right now, because it's going to take up like 30% to 40% of your income. So you have to pay a lot of attention. You have to be careful for what we see. So it's good to search for it. It's good to be prepared of it. It's good to know the difference between the cities. Of course, we can help you out with that. We know how to do it. But if you guys want to choose to do it for yourself, of course, it is possible, but be aware of the main parts, the main moving parts, so you don't get mistaken, you don't get a lot of denials on your applications, okay? And we, as a closure, I want to say thank you, of course, and seeing that we are in most of the cities as we talk. I saw that as was a question that we are, if you are in Windsor. Sorry, we are not in Windsor right now, but we are a lot of cities, the main ones, the big ones, and some of the main ones in the smaller on each province. So if you want to look for it, you can search in our website. We have all the information as well, or you can start and schedule a call with us, so you can have a lot of more information on it. I just posted on the chat our promo link, so you can click on it and schedule your first call with us with no charge at all.
Perfect. Yeah, amazing, Otavio. Thank you for sharing that with our community. Thank you for preparing this content for us. This was great, amazing content and tips and extra information about the cost of living in different cities. So for those that are intending to relocate to Canada, if you intend to move to Canada, you know that VanHack works with visa-sponsored jobs. I shared in the chat our job board already, and we have this new program called Canadian Engineer Office, in which you can relocate to Canada and keep your current job with an international company. So next week, we'll have a webinar to discuss more about this new program with our CEO, Ilya. He will explain all about the program and answer your questions. So I hope you can join us, and I hope to see you there. And yeah, thanks again for joining us, and see you all around. Thank you, Otavio. See you, and until next time. Bye.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye, guys.
Bye.